Wait, so what should we call this one?
Oh.
A teeny penis is spiritually fucked?
Yeah, teeny peeny.
Teeny peeny is spiritually fucked?
Spiritually fucked. There you go.
So, this is going to be a two-parter.
Okay.
So, and just an FYI, there's a trigger warning for sexual assault and rape.
Oh, rape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yuck, yuck.
Fair enough.
So Yoga to the People was a donation-based hot yoga studio that opened its doors in 2006 with a mission to bring yoga to everybody despite financial limitations. So, like, hot yoga is kind of like it's kind of like an offshoot of Bikram. Mm-hmm. So it's usually like 20 to 26 like set poses in a really hot room with set humidity. And it's still like really popular today, even though like Bikram was very irritated that everyone used his formula. And so he would try to sue everybody. But there's... something just fell.
It's all good. On its own, though. So
on
creepy.
Its own, it is spooky season.
Yeah.
But so a lot of studios still, there's whole studios that are dedicated to this style.
Yeah.
But Core Power teaches it as a hot power fusion. Yoga 6, it's called Y6 Hot. But just for reference, these studios have a drop-in rate that's about $20 to $30 on average.
That's insane.
Right.
Expeasy. So I get why he was trying to bring it to people who can't necessarily afford it. Because, yeah, that's for one class.
For one class. So in 2020, when Yoga to the People closed, their suggested donation was $12 a class.
Oh.
Which is bonkers.
Really? Yeah, that's really cheap.
Yeah.
12 versus 30? Yeah, I'll take a 12er.
Yeah.
Okay.
And students didn't even have to pay that if you didn't have it.
It was a donation.
Yeah, it was a donation. But then, yogis were usually like, we're going to show up and give our best and be honest. So if I can afford $20, that's really going to help this place.
Then I'll donate 20.
Then I'll 20 and I'll go.
Yeah.
So I think
I think yogis in general are typically, if they can be generous, especially if they can, throw some money at what they love the most, they're gonna.
And like support the community.
Yeah.
It's very much like with studios that have like a really high student count, I feel like it's a very like community based kind of studio, and they're there not just for the physical practice, but they're also getting
The
much
mental,
more.
the heart of it. I remember, and this is not related to pricing whatsoever, but I remember seeing Bikram yoga classes, like the signs, like as you're driving down the freeway, like different, studios are off the freeway, and then all of a sudden it would just be hot yoga because everybody was like not wanting to be aligned with Bikram.
Yeah.
But the Bikram of it all.
Yeah. So Yoga to the People was started by, and we tried to look up his name before. It's either Greg Gamusio or Greg Gamuccio. I'm going to say Gamusio because I feel like...
I think if there was a muccio of it all, then there would be two C's, like pepperoncinis.
Oh, I was thinking it would be an H, like ciao. No! I guess I don't know why we're assuming... is it an Italian last name? I don't know.
I think I wanted it to be at one point.
Did I do the hand gesture when I went ciao?
Because it feels right.
It does feel right.
Gamuccio. No.
Gamuccio.
But to be fair, he only has one C.
Gamusio.
So, and I don't even like his vibe already. So it's going to be Gamuccio. We're not
going to give you that.
Give him that.
The extra C. So it was started by him in New York in the early aughts. He first opened a small studio in Manhattan using the donation-based model that we just talked about.
In Manhattan, though?
In Manhattan.
How do you survive on donations in Manhattan?
So at the time, Brian Kest, who does power yoga, he was doing it in LA. And so he thought, oh, I'm going to do this in New York. So we got this very, very small studio. And in the first class, he had maybe like 10 people. And by the third class, he was past capacity.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Because I think that people were
word
like,
spread.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they were like, and at the time, the suggested donation was $8. Because this was
the
like,
the days. I remember dropping into a yoga studio back in like, I mean, I just graduated high school, so this is embarrassing, but like in 2004, my
Yeah.
drop-in was $10 in Oceanside. It was like a studio in Oceanside. It was super cute. But, yeah, $10.
wait, was it Black Sheep?
Well, I don't even know. It
Over
was
in like South O?
it was like right behind Oceanside High.
Oh.
So it was like closer to that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was off the beaten path for sure.
Yeah.
But $10.
Yeah.
I know.
I know. That's so crazy.
I know.
So then he moved to, he set up shop in St. Mark's Place in the East Village, which, I don't know. I had this like whole thought about it because I was like, ooh, this is probably when the gentrification of the neighborhood started.
Probably.
But then I thought about it and I was like, at the time, this was like right when Core Power was taking off. So a donation-based yoga studio was like pretty punk rock.
Yeah.
And like East Village is known for like,
Uppity.
no. Well,
Oh.
like St. Mark's is known for like punk, like,
Oh, I'm thinking Upper East Side.
like
just
think
kidding.
of- you're thinking Gossip Girl?
I withdraw my last statement. Take it back.
Not
Take
Gossip
it back.
Girl.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's like where like the Ramones were and
Oh, okay.
like street punks. So they opened a studio there, a yoga studio there.
In the middle of.
But I was like, okay, I originally was like, ugh, gentrification, which it was, but
Yeah.
also I was like, meh, but maybe the donation-based aspect, because it did feel kind of punk rock at the time, because like yoga was becoming more standardized, more popular, and I think having a donation-based system is just kind of kick-ass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
so,
sure.
So when they opened at St. Mark's Place, it was just a few blocks from NYU. So it was perfect for young college students who didn't have a lot of
Broke
money.
college students.
Yeah, young, broke ass college students
Yeah.
that were like, maybe I'll try yoga. It's only $8.
Sure.
And
Sure.
so, yeah. So it was very successful.
Yeah.
It was like the right call, right business call. And so they blew up. So that was successful. They opened more studios in New York. They opened some in Colorado, Arizona, California.
Oh my God. It did blow up.
Yeah, we had 2 in the Bay Area. And this is a side note. And I think I told you this before, is that there was two yoga to the people's studios in like nearby. Well,
So you've
one
seen
was
one.
across the bridge.
You've seen one in the flesh?
Well, no, I didn't go because I would have had
Oh, okay.
I had to take Bart.
Oh, okay. Well, that's where you draw the line.
It was where I drew the line. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I'd have to take Bart and like I
Your
just
life
really don't want to
expectancy
take
goes down.
And then I didn't want and then I ended up the studio that I ended up doing all my training at and like falling in love with yoga. It was just right down the street, and they had childcare, which was a big
Take
big
my
thing.
money. I'm like,
Take
do I
my
have
money.
to pay you guys for me to like? I
Yeah.
would throw all sorts of money for somebody else to watch my
I
kid.
know,
Well,
but I feel like I'm so lucky because at the time I was a new mom. I was exhausted, and I was so susceptible, I think, to what yoga does, like what it does for your like own kind of mental, spiritual health.
Yeah.
That if there was like, I would have fallen for that shit so
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
So hard.
Yeah.
It was like
I feel
crowded
like when you're
rooms.
a new mom, you're
Yeah.
just so vulnerable too, and you're just trying to find all sorts of ways to fill your cup again.
Yeah. And it was like it was like a lot of like, it was like 1 inch between each mat, like sweaty,
That is
community based.
cuckoo.
I love it.
I know you
I
do.
would have fallen for that shit so hard.
Yeah, I could
I
see
don't
that.
think I'm their target victim, or like
You were
I
too
was not-
strong-minded. You would have smelled some shit from far left and been like,
No,
nah.
I think I'm too brown.
What?
He had like I think that Good Museo had like a very like young white girl thing.
Okay. Well, maybe.
So I didn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have.
So you would have been considered safe.
I would have been safe, but I would have eaten that shit up. I would have been one of the I would have mindlessly followed probably, because I feel like my teacher training had a lot of different teachers who were very vocal about like, this is also a business. You can get swept up in some crazy shit. So I feel like I knew that from them.
Kind of love that though.
Yeah.
Because it like protects you from like, again, when you're doing something that feeds your soul and you hear people that speak so highly of it, it's almost like it is a sales pitch, whether it's intentional or not. You're trying to convince somebody that this is like going to be good for you, and because it is when it's not yuck, right?
Yeah, I know. I would have been hooked. Okay, so by 2020, before COVID shut everything down, they had multiple studios, thousands of students daily between all of the different studios.
What?
The teacher training program was popping off, and they were making millions of dollars in revenue. And then during COVID, while everything was shut down, the creation of an anonymous Instagram account called YTTP Shadow Work not only brought to light all of the sexual misconduct, toxic work environment, racial discrimination, unfair labor practices, but it helped to shutter the yoga chain's doors for good and put Gamusio behind bars.
Oh my God, that must have felt so empowering. Like somebody smelled the dirt in the water. Dirt. Blood.
No, there was no murder.
Somebody smelled the poo-poo in the street. I don't know. Somebody smelled the yucky poo and really created something that was going to make a change of it all.
Well, and I think too, during COVID, we all had, I was just listening on...
Take them down.
Well, and on Yoga Land, there was a teacher who was just talking about how during COVID, she kind of had to like sit because, as teachers, we're constantly like, and this is true before COVID, and maybe not so much after, is that we were just teaching,
Yeah.
and you didn't have a breather. You're just kind of like in survival mode teaching, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And so I think that once you have that like break to sit down, I think a lot of people were like,
Wait a minute.
I'm
reflecting on some
I'm reflecting
shit,
and this shit is not right.
Yeah.
And then you start researching,
Yeah.
and then you start maybe talking to other teachers who also are like, oh, maybe that's not right. And I think that that's kind of
Like the fire that started
yeah.
to essentially burn this house down.
Yeah, I love it.
I love that.
I'm also very glad I was not part of...
Because you could have been.
Because I could
Too
have
brown,
been.
though. Remember?
Too brown. In order to understand what wrong, I think we need to like go back a little bit and look at Gamusio and his background a little bit.
Juice.
So I started looking into him, and the Gregory Gamusio I found was born on May 10th, 1961.
What?
I know.
Your very same birthday.
I know. I immediately stopped.
I mean, except for
I
the
immediately
year.
stopped, and then
Yeah.
I was like, maybe it's not the right guy.
Maybe
But
it's not.
I also had this like side, I had this kind of like side thought too that was like, oh, so he's a Taurus. And Tauruses, we love like luxury and we love riches and like tactile, like sensual stuff. But we also kind of don't really like to do the work to get there.
You're like, wait a minute.
So I was like, so not saying that like all Taurians, I think it's Taurians that were criminals, but I could probably like find a true crime for every astrological sign.
Yeah, 100%.
But like theft and fraud, 100%, I could see that happening. But I don't even know if he is. So I do think it is because the date lines up, but
Maybe it was like May 9th. 11th.
no,
Then
it
he would be
literally
Shepherds.
says May 10th, 1961. He was born in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
He's got a lengthy criminal record dating back to the early 80s.
So even before he started all the stuff.
Yeah, and it's not to say that people who do have criminal records are still like can't change or
Right.
they can't or they're somehow
I mean,
not
we're open.
worthy of like kind of the spiritual enlightenment. However, considering how things went down later, I think that it's valid to kind of look back at his criminal record. So in 1982, he was convicted for felony forgery. In 1986, he was arrested for motor vehicle theft, and then there was charges of third-degree assault that were dismissed.
So let me be very clear. This guy has no problem with like any, like he's not just picking one crime.
No,
He's just all kinds of bad.
he's dabbling.
Yeah, he's dipping his toes in the crime.
Yeah,
in the
he's
crime
just like,
pond.
Yeah.
See.
So then in 1986, he was arrested for attempting to escape custody as a convicted felon, which it's in itself is a felony.
Yeah,
And then that was closed without conviction. So he's getting away with like
without conviction.
yeah, so there's a lot of things that he's just kind of like getting away with and like having a slap on the wrist.
How does one like almost escape and then just like, oh, I was just kidding. I wasn't really gonna try to escape. Like, how do you not get
I
convicted?
have no idea.
All right.
I don't know.
Okay.
In 1992, he was arrested for theft in Oregon under the alias Charles William Abbott, which has nothing to do with anything, but I just I just really like that he had an alias that was like so refined.
Yeah, Charles
William
Abbott.
Charges were dismissed for lack of evidence.
Stop.
Yeah. And then in 96, so the charges were dropped or dismissed in 95, and then 96, he began training with Bikram.
Oh, so he trained with Bikram?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Oh my god, I did not see this coming. I don't know
Yeah.
why I didn't, but I did not see this coming.
well, I feel like when there's a anyway, so he tries throughout his career, especially after a lot of the allegations about Bikram like come out, he tries to create a distance between himself and but he studied with him, and then he would work for him up until 2002. And he used to commute from Seattle to LA to teach in the studios in LA. And then he helped him open a lot of studios like throughout the US. And that's where he kind of refined his predatory tactics, because I think that he kind of rose up in the ranks and having that authority, I think, emboldened him.
Oh, I'm sure he's like probably feeling super stopless. Like he's like, I can do a lot and get away with a lot because of who I am and what I carry within this company. And unfortunately, like taking advantage of all these white women's trust. I don't know how to say it like that.
White women's
Those
trust.
white women, because you know.
Yeah. So his weird shit goes all the way back to the 90s. There was one woman who practiced at one of the studios, and she said that sometimes she would walk into the lobby and he'd be like massaging young women's shoulders. And
I am
she was
uncomfortable
like, I
already.
kind of got an icky feeling.
Well, yeah. Young women's shoulders, where he's just like, can
you imagine how
I don't
uncomfortable-
walk into your classes expecting like a shoulder rub from you? Like that's
I mean, but
weird.
you do, because
But
I
I
give
do.
them.
Like at the
But
end.
not in a predatory
But
way.
no, not in like a hey.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I don't know. I imagine myself, like, I feel like, especially like late 90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of like unwanted touch that I think that women weren't really told were like violations.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you just kind of like stood there and
let
took
it
and you just like let it
happen.
happen. Like, when is this going to be over? Because you just didn't know any better. So in addition to that, there was another woman who came forward, and she said she came to yoga. She was 18. She was a sexual assault survivor. And she viewed him as this mentor. She was like, I love this. I love yoga. I want to do this for a living. And so he offered to pay for and secure her a spot in Bikram's training. And in return, he was like, I don't know. He was just like, you're going to have to be okay with me basically stalking you.
What?
Yeah. He
He's
was
like, in return, you are my property.
basically,
I
so he
own-
said, or she said that, quote, it was like, I'm your mentor, I'm your guy, I'm going to provide the support for you to do teacher training. In exchange, you're basically committed to me for life.
Is this a deal with the devil? I mean, it is. Sounds like it is. But like, who thinks that they have that level of power?
I know, it's so gross.
It's so gross. And then like, it's certainly sounds like a fantastic opportunity for this young girl who is like trying to heal from something god awful that happened to her. And she sees this opportunity. She's like, oh my God, all of this sounds great. Also, he looks trustworthy. Sure. It's just somebody who's looking for stability or looking for like a way.
Yeah. So then Bikram comes to town and they have like this big dinner and they all go back to Gamusio's apartment and they're having drinks, and the woman, she's like, yeah, like I really want to do yoga, but my end goal is to become a massage therapist. So then Bikram makes this comment like, oh, I'll be able to know within 2 seconds if you're going to be a successful massage therapist. The entire group proceeds to leave the 18-year-old alone in a room with him. And I mean, this was before all those allegations came to light. Yeah. However, your guy is yuck.
Yeah.
Like you know. And if he's like, oh, I'm going to know, like,
Within 2
seconds, and then they leave her.
No.
Like, you know what's happening.
And to be fair, a massage, I mean, I get it is really like, you want to get in the zone, blah, blah, blah. I've never had a massage by a professional that was like amongst my friends, but this isn't a paid service. Like she could have just done it,
Yeah, like just been
amongst
like,
the people.
Here's a little it's weird,
they don't
but
need
like
that level of intimacy.
No, it's real gross. So he sexually assaulted her.
Oh my God! Right then and there,
and then she managed to just kind of like stroke his ego and politely put him off until he gave up. Until he like gave up from, I don't know.
He said, forget it.
For being fully gross and going even further. And then she just was like, bye, I'm out of here forever.
Good.
Yeah.
This is the thing. And mind you, she had just experienced this level of yuck and is trying to find her way to heal.
Yeah.
Through yoga. Mm-hmm. And then Bikram's nasty, dirty, gross, yucky poo-poo ass is like...
Literally and figuratively. So the next story. So a lot of this information I got from Rolling Stone and Vice, and I'll link them in the show notes. But the next one, I think it was in the Vice article. So Larissa Anderson, she was dealing with the fallout of addiction and a traumatic sexual assault when she found yoga in 1999, when she was only 22. Gamusio was her first teacher, and she was like obsessed. She was like threw herself head first, started eating well, practicing all the time, being a good like student, and like really turning her life around.
Right.
She started dating Gamusio, and in 2001 they moved in together. And she said that she finally felt accepted for who she was. However, like, and I think this is like coming from a space where maybe she didn't have someone who really accepted her for who she was before this, because she said that he would tell her that she was beautiful and perfect, except for her varicose veins.
Fuck off.
I know.
You're beautiful and perfect, but your veins, ew.
I know.
Her veins are also a part of her beautiful and perfect
but also
body.
she's 22, so she's like so
super
young.
Impressionable.
She's super young, and she's taking that and like a complete, like, I think if someone were to tell me that now, I'd be like, go fuck yourself. But at 22,
you're like, oh, there's probably truth to it. I'm taking what you're saying. You're older. How old was he when they started dating?
I don't know.
I don't know how to math.
61. So
1961. 41.
So he was 41.
Yeah.
And she was 22. Which, I mean,
it's fine. Like,
it's fine. However, he lied to her about his age. So she found out that he was years older. I don't know how old he said he was, but his license she was doing laundry and his license fell out of his pocket. And she was like, oh, he's a lot older than I thought he was. But he'd do like this other crazy shit. So he lied about that. He would tell her she was perfect except for varicose veins, which, I don't know, same girl. And then also she became pregnant multiple times, and then he convinced her that she needed to get an abortion, which is, if If she also wanted that, then that's cool. If she didn't and felt pressured, that's yuck.
Yeah.
But also, lucky for her that he was not
tied to
baby daddy.
Yeah.
And he's probably super fertile because he's wearing organic, like, baggy ass pants all the time.
Just swinging.
Just saying, she has dodged multiple bullets. She was like Keanu in the Matrix. Dodging so hard.
Oh my God.
Yeah. She also worked for him, paid all of his bills, bought him a car, and
Paid his bills?
yes.
I don't understand that.
Neither.
Okay.
Yeah. Put it all on her credit card because she was young, didn't know any better, and he was.
And it's not like he could have a credit card because based off of the life decisions he made, he was probably doo-doo with his money too. Mm-hmm. And he probably had a credit card under Charles Williams Abbott. Just racking it up.
So in 2004, she started to sense that something was off. He started spending a lot of time with other women. And then he reintroduced her to drugs and employed to initiate a threesome.
That is so yuck. That is so yuck.
It is.
Look,
very yuck.
Again, I'm not here to shame anybody. I think threesomes never done one myself, but can be fantastic if that's what you're into. But if you're having to drug your girlfriend up to initiate something
after
like
you know
this,
she has
so
addiction
many
issues?
Yeah, addiction issues, sexual assault.
That is some vile shit.
Oh wait, no, it's super yuck.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It's twisting the knife and super selfish on his part. And again, I feel like she's just so young and impressionable, so she's probably like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Did she know he was doing that? That he was dropping
he wasn't doing it. He
drugs?
wasn't. Yeah, I guess she said that a car came to pick her up, and then the driver was like, "Here, your boyfriend wanted me to give you these drugs. It's probably like E or something."
Yeah.
And she was like, and she thought that she was losing him, so she was like, "I guess
I'll
do what
"This
I
is
can
the
do
last
to
Hail
keep
Mary to try to keep my relationship afloat."
Yeah, and so then they broke up a year later when he got another woman pregnant, and she kept the baby.
Oh my God.
And he was like, "Oh, guess we're doing this here now."
Having to, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sucks, all of it. Mm-hmm. But she's probably, she dodged, better off.
Dodged some
without
bullets.
continuing life along that guy.
Yeah.
Gamakio.
That's Gamakio.
Are we going to use that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So around 2004, so this is the same year, another woman accused him of rape. And the police report claims that he made the woman feel special, inserted himself into her family because her mother and her sisters were also students of his, and then drove a wedge between her and her husband. He kept being like, he doesn't appreciate you enough. He doesn't do this for you.
What a predator. Mm-hmm. Like, he's grooming hard.
Yeah. And she believes that her younger sister, who was 19 at the time, was sexually assaulted by him, but the sister denies anything ever happened. But she was like, there's something off here.
Yeah. Something's happening. Nobody's willing to admit
maybe
it.
Maybe she didn't, but maybe he was in the process of grooming her. And that's just speculation.
Yeah.
But
you know.
Based on him just being
Gayakio. And maybe she didn't want anything to do with it, even if it was true.
And like, so no. I don't want to like put more out there. So I'm not going to recount everything that had happened, which is yuck. And I don't want to put more. Scroll? But I do. There was one thing that I wanted to say, only because I just hate him so much. And I think it's disparaging to him. And you can read the rest in the Vice article. And if you want to skip over the next like 30 seconds, if I can only ever put out there that he's got a very small dick, then I would be happy.
I'm fulfilled.
Yeah.
Then this episode is worth it.
Yeah. Just
Go PPO. Go wee PPO.
So in October of 2004, the case was closed as exceptional status, which I did not know what that meant.
What is that?
So I texted with my friend Emily, she's a lawyer, and she said that oftentimes because the victim is unwilling to cooperate or there's some other circumstance where they can't really move forward with the prosecution, but they need to like move on and close it off the books. That's kind of what happens. And most likely what I gather is like the few other cases I've seen that were closed from this, it's like the witnesses are sick and tired of not being listened to, recounting the story over and over again, and then being gaslit by lawyers.
It's such like a
Like they just want to move on. It's like every single time they have to do it, they're like re-traumatized.
And and honestly, that in itself is exhausting. And then throw gaslighting on top of it. Like you're doing all of this to put your truth out there. You're reliving it, recounting everything to put your truth out there, only to be criticized and not believed and gaslit by lawyers. So I can see why you would get fatigue.
And just want to quit.
Fatigue. Yeah. And just say, forget it.
So after this, Gamusio and his new baby mama moved to Portland, where they lived for about a year before heading to New York and opening Yoga to the People. And that is where we end today.
No!
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you stay tuned for part 2.
Yeah.
But that's only like 2 seconds for you.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. I feel so much better.
Really make you
I was
wait?
ready to open up the second booch. I'm like, hold on, it's getting juicy. This is where we're going.
Juicy.
But oh my god, this guy is all kinds of yuck.
This is before we even really start our story.
To get into the juice of it all.
Yeah, he's yuck. Wait, so what should we call this one?
Oh.
A teeny penis is spiritually fucked?
Yeah, teeny peeny.
Teeny peeny is spiritually fucked?
Spiritually fucked. There you go.